Welcome to Art of Mind Making, third module. It is to construct perfection in the life. Virtually, these videos are meant for enlightening the adolescent people involved in real education. Real education is not at all reproducing. It is researching, questioning the contribution of an individual and authenticity of the information that you are getting. I do say advice and suggestions are replaced with discussion and interlocution today. A child must be given an opportunity to discuss things across the table. Such friendly environment, adjusting the oddities, directing in the path where they could pleasurefully travel long distances is the need of the hour. What is information? It's not a matter of today. In the advent of internet, artificial intelligence, such as chatbot and ChatGPT, abundant information, abundant accurate information is being given to the youngster. But the problem, how it has to be used, is not known to them properly. It cannot be learned by themselves. They should involve in some kind of discussion. In this part, let me talk about personification of perfection. How it is possible. Perfection is a process, not a perception, I believe. The process has to be intelligently executed, consistently continued. Ultimately, it is an exploration of an individual's experience. It's not an attainment. Exactly, it is not an attainment. So, as far my view is concerned, by uttering light, you can't produce glow. It has to be experienced. To make it more lucid, to understand, let me bring one of my experiences in teaching. For long days, I was explaining the non-detail by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the inventor of Sherlock Holmes. The story goes like this. Once Watson, the obedient assistant of Sherlock Holmes, got into the hostel. Sherlock Holmes was at about 15 to 16 years old. When Watson got into the hostel, Sherlock Holmes was simply throwing a piano from the third floor. Watson asked him to stop. What made him to throw the piano abruptly? Sherlock Holmes stopped it and said, I got mastery over it. Just, I would like to drag your attention towards this simple sentence. I got mastery over it, so I don't need once again with it. This is a small anecdote, a small sentence, which talks about the attitudinal behavior, sharp attitudinal behavior of Mr. Sherlock Holmes. The simple story elucidates three messages. One of the messages I would like to bring to you is, number one, focusing on anything until you feel that it is completed. Focus on anything till it completes the perception. Second thing, we must learn the beautiful message which is being silently taught to all human beings. Life doesn't allow any kind of rehearsals. If you want anything to be done second time in life, the philosophy of life will never agree with it. Once it is done, it cannot be reproduced, it cannot be reframed, reformed. So perfection is an important thing. And third one is, perfection is a constant way of repeating till you get exhausted. Till you don't find anything new connected to the philosophy or the process. So simply I could say perfection never breeds any kind of repetition. When it is repeated, perfection is missing at any stage. So it has to be clearly contemplated. Perfection is not repetition. Perfection is completion. So personification of perfection will never be interested in repetition. That concept must be known to you. How it could be attained? Once Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was asked a question by his ardent devotee that he wanted to relinquish everything, family, property, children, and would like to follow the suit of Bhagavan Ramana, staying all alone in the hills, caves, dens and mountains in order to get moksha. His question was what he would do. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi gave him a wonderful answer telling, there was no need for you to relinquish anything. Reaffirm that it may not affect you much. Place was not important. That was not expected answer to the ardent devotee. Simply he said, why didn't you do that? You have left your home at the age of 16 and became a sage, ascetic, monk and superior soul on this earth. Bhagavan smiled and said that he did not seek any permission from anybody. The conversation stopped there itself. They start contemplating the conversation. Perfection is also the same. When you want to identify, affirm, state that the perfection in you has been attained, in the other side, it is next to impossible. That itself is not a perfection. And there might be some kind of adjustments in your path. Let me be very clear, those adjustments must be by yourself, not by others. Feedback many a time pollutes your mind, derails your concept, belittles of your decision-making powers. One must be conscious about the thoughts, impressions, implications, impacts over the minds. Minds of others, mind of an individual. Attainment of a perfection demands one's passions, one's strengths, one's values, one's deep desires, and one's emotional exchanges. Though it seems to be a study to digest. Think over it is what the truth. Unfortunately, most of the kids, most of the younger generation do not know what their passions are, where they are strong, what they want exactly. The achievement and attainment should make them to composed, not competitive, not comparative. But we are inculcating a kind of education where competition, unrest are the common things. Perfection demands the conduction of research. One small question for all the younger generation. How many of you are putting a journal book? How many of you are writing of your own opinions on the paper? How many of you are maintaining notes whenever you have the golden thoughts that are guiding, guarding, molding, shaping of your thoughts? We must make the children to carry a scribble book and write them. You are quite interested to make a selfie or some other photograph immediately whenever look at a striking event. Like that, striking thoughts should also be recorded, registered. Prioritize the paths which are resonate with your authenticated self. Exactness, authenticity. One of the greatest words that I show a lot of reverence is authenticity. Where does my thought come from? Then what's the reason for it? What would be the result of it? Simply going to the roots of the thought. Because thoughts will be converted into action. Your actions will be seen by the world. When you do not know the technicality of the thought, most probably you are missing something. So, in this process, open to step outside, coming out of the comfort zone. I've seen most of the children would like to be very comfortable. They'll go for, I could call it test papers before the examinations. Is it the way to enjoy the examination? Why don't we have the textbooks? Why don't we have underlining points? Why don't we have the discussions with the teachers? Why don't we have the discussions with the students? Why don't we contradict? Why don't we convince? Why don't we invent? And why can't we think about the inner sense of the writer? All this process is not being properly done. Like a lump of body, just we are pushing through and tell that they should get marks. I should say regularly assess yourself. Regularly. If your assessment is not perfect, reassess it. See, assessing oneself is nothing but looking inside of you and giving top priority to your own soul and mind. That's the essence of education. Where a child is not being provided an opportunity to look into and identify the cream and core part of it, core part of him or her, and it could not be exchanged, encouraged, changed. Believe that the process of education might be a little bit complicated or being diverted. When you identify that your path is not being properly laid by yourself, nothing is wrong once you adjust the path and needed to stay along with attunement. So you need to be very comprehensive about the thought process that you are making for perfection. Think close. Osho says there are two kinds of people. Some are wise, some are otherwise. The problem are with otherwise. Otherwise do not have the proper structure of thought. They are liquid in form. They are being mulled, modified, mutilated by most of the outer sources easily. This module 3 would like to emphasize strongly, concretely identify who you are exactly. This thought may not be easily digested, I know it. But it is a medicine to the minds of younger generation. If they stay tuned to the thought of mine, I promise those people will design of their own destiny wonderfully well. They will become wise. Wise people, the first quality is they can comprehend what they listen to, though it is hazy, complicated, enigmatic. They never worry about it. You are one such, I believe. It is not a kind of story to be demonstrated. It is not a gossip to be taught. Or it is not a kind of mocking at others. It's about making a biopsy of your mindset, making a concrete version of your life and its executions, its policies and philosophies. I advise you what would be the best version of yourself. To know the best version of yourself, you're always giving some kind of justifications to your own thought, your own words, your own actions. Let it be continued. What would be the best version of yours? In order to identify the best version of yours, you need to have the power to navigate the inner energies of yours, the challenges of yours. And it can be, completely comprehended only by the resilience that you are inculcating inside of yours. Again, I'm telling you, progress can never be static. It cannot be stopped somewhere else. So you are in need of perfection. You are in need of making yourself the best version. I don't give you a promise that the destination is awaiting you. It's a concocted story. You call it motivation. You call it inspiration. Those words sound very good. But my point is, how many of people in the world have been translated their inner dreams by mere motivation and inspiration? They might be the catalyst, that's all. And it seems to be process. It has to be done innerly, eloquently, with all elucidation, with all examples, I mean to say. It's not an advice. It is a kind of statement for you. Just think, make a quest, make a search of meaningful life. There must be meaning for every action of ours. Be careful, every thought of ours including. Don't consider the thought is not potential. Your all actions are the results of your thoughts. So I would like to identify the thought. Art of mind making is nothing but putting some kind of experimental experiences by the thoughts that you are generating. From where, how they are being creamed, and put it on the track. So when you think about the meaningful of your life, automatically you will become enriched. In this process, the key is flexibility. Never be enthused, never be over-tempted, overwhelmed by the stringent activities. Never be yielded to the self-negation that you are not perfect enough, that you are not up to the mark. No, it should be done in a very, very flexible way. I advise you self-directed study. Think it over. I'm not demeriting or demeaning anybody's influence over your life. But I caution you that influence must be limited. It should not go beyond of your thought, beyond of your control. So self-directed study, I'm not asking about reading, it's a studying, involving in the activity like a deception, not a deception, dissection, biopsy of the thought and go inside. All the knowledge that you attain should be of experiential. Then it will be exemplary. So fourth module onwards, we will have the direct psychological effects that makes us strong and weak. And I'm ready to have the discussions about this one with the book, with the questionnaire, with the really interested individuals. Let us meet as many as young brains and tempt them to come out of their real potential, real expectations. So soon, in schools and colleges, symposiums will be conducted, and the process of ours, elaborating how it works, how it can be executed as the potentialities of an individual, how it can be useful, and how an individual can change the thought of himself or herself in a glorified way. Thank you. Meeting you in person soon.